Introducing the Champion's Mindset, the podcast that gives your inner game a serious upgrade. Join internationally renowned mindset and performance expert, KATHRYN Orford.
Hi there, and welcome everybody. The Champion's Mindset is for everyone, whether you are an athlete, a sports coach, an entrepreneur, a business owner, or just someone that's really interested in fine tuning their mindset. You're in the right place. And today I am so excited. We have an NFL legend to have an amazing conversation with about his journey of really, well, I'm actually not going to spill the beans. I'm going to let him explain what his journey was like because I am hoping that you're going to get some amazing inspiration. Because guess what? In life, everything just isn't sunshine, lollipops, and roses, right? There are going to be setbacks. There are going to be people telling you that you're not good enough, that you're not going to make it. That's exactly what happened to him. But guess what? He did. So, without any further ado, I am so excited to introduce you to NFL legend Mike Hollis. Welcome, Mike.
Hey, thank you so much.
Thanks for joining us. So, let's start at the very beginning. You're a little boy. You're just kicking the football around in the backyard or playing with a few kids down the road. And then, what age were you when you actually decided you might like to play this game?
Well, as kids, there's a lot of kids around the neighborhood that I grew up in, and we always played some sort of football. We made up our own rules. It was kind of down and dirty ball. We would just beat each other up and so forth. But I also played organized soccer. So I played soccer on a soccer team, and we were pretty good, like a select team. And so I kind of, thought, I love football, but I wasn't always, I really didn't know if I wanted to play organized football because I just loved playing in the neighborhood with the kids, right? But, around eighth grade is when I kind of thought about playing football as an eighth grader in our, what we call junior high school back then. And the only one reason I did was I was a small guy. I still am kind of a small guy, but I was really small back then. I literally was only like 80 pounds. In eighth grade. So I remember I wrestled at 72 pounds. So I know I remember that weight pretty significantly, but I didn't want to get killed. But the thing with our school is we had lightweight and heavyweight. So we split up our football team into two different categories, clearly. So I played on the lightweight team. So I played other positions. And, I was always in soccer. So kicking came natural to me. So, when the coach said, "Who wants to be a kicker?" I raised my hand, clearly. But I was a kicker, a punter, and a wide receiver, and a defensive back. And so that was my first really experience with organized football, and I enjoyed it. We were a crummy team. We didn't do very well, but I kicked a 36-yard field goal in eighth grade, and so I thought that was pretty impressive. But that was probably, I think, one of the only points I scored. I might have scored a touchdown too, but yeah, that was my experience in football initially.
And then come ninth grade. What happened in ninth grade?
Well, in ninth grade, it was considered high school at that time. We were still in the junior high, but it was all for all. It's all the weights, all the guys. I'm like, I don't want to play because I'll get killed. And my assumption was, and this was a terrible assumption, but I didn't know any better. I thought that I had to play other positions. I'm like, well, I can't just be a kicker. I have to do something else. So I don't want to play because I'm going to get killed, and I didn't want to get killed. So I took the ninth grade off. I thought, no, I don't know if I'm ever going to play football, but it was fun. Eighth grade, okay, great. I enjoyed it, but I'll still play around with my buddies. Just pick up football and have some fun. But transferring into the actual high school, going into 10th grade, I had a stepbrother that had graduated a year before, maybe about the time he's graduating, and he asked me if I was going to be a kicker on the team, and I said no. I said I'll get killed. He said I got to play other positions. I don't want to do that. And he said no, we have a kicker on the team that's graduating with me. I mean, what do you mean? You could be a kicker. I'm like, really? And so I tried out, and honestly, I don't know where I would be if he hadn't told me that. I don't know what I'd be doing right now, where I'd be living, what I'd be doing in my life. But I'm glad he told me.
And so soccer kind of got the flick. That was the end of soccer?
Yeah. Well, I did play soccer throughout high school. So I played 3 years of high school soccer on the varsity team. Again, I wasn't the greatest athlete, but I was just good enough to make varsity team. And then football, I excelled as just a kicker. And I was living the dream, really. I mean, it was just kicker in football, and soccer was fun, except for the running part, which is what soccer is. So after high school, I had a decision to make, because up in the Northwest, I'm from Washington State. We had the soccer and football were at the same time in college, and I wasn't a great soccer player anyway. So I thought, well, the decision is really easy. I hate running, so I had no endurance. So I'm like, I love kicking, so clearly I'm gonna go on to college as a kicker and see what I can do with that.
So you went to a community college. Did you
I
get a scholarship?
I did, but yeah, but it was just like, it was peanuts. It wasn't a whole lot, and it was a struggle to even get to get interest from any schools. It was my size
Mm,
was a big deal, I guess, and that's going to be my theme for the rest of this talk, really, because I've
yes.
always been let down because of my size. Like, man, I can kick a ball. Why does it matter what my size is? And so I was overlooked by a lot of universities coming out of high school, and then fast forwarding after my 2 years of junior college, which I did pretty good. I was a blue chip All-American my first year as a freshman, and did pretty good my sophomore year. And after those were done, those 2 years, I was right back in the same boat I was when I finished high school. Like, well, no other teams want me. Like, what's going on here? And
Mm.
finally, University of Idaho stepped up and said, hey, we don't have a scholarship to give you right now, but if you enroll and beat the kicker out that we thought was going to be our guy, you will get a scholarship per semester. And so I took that chance and enrolled and beat him out, and I got that scholarship.
And then you completed that, and then what happened?
Well, coming back to my size again, getting into it really, it was weird because, getting out of Idaho, I always had a really strong leg. My field goals were not great. I was kind of comparing myself when you're playing football in college, you're looking at the NFL, like, well, how do I do compared to these guys on TV that I'm watching? I'm getting hang times and distances on kickoffs, and I had a strong leg, so I was really comparable to those guys, sometimes even better. And so I thought, well, I got a good chance, and so I got it. Of course, the draft came and went. I knew I wasn't going to get drafted. I didn't have any leverage. I wasn't that great. Plus, I was at a Division I AA, which is FCS now, that level of school. So I didn't. I knew I wasn't going to get drafted. But when it came time to after the draft, I got a call from my head coach and said, "Hey, the Atlanta Falcons want to fly you in for a workout." I'm like, "Oh my gosh, this is awesome!" So I flew the first time out of the early Washington State, essentially on a plane that far east. I went to Atlanta and worked out with against four other guys, and I didn't do the best. I did okay, but they picked a guy that he clearly deserved an opportunity, and so they flew me back home. And then a few days later, I got a call from the head coach again saying, "Hey, the Chargers want to look at you again next week." And so I was preparing for that and went down to San Diego and got an opportunity to work out against one other guy, and I did better than him, and they liked me. So I thought, okay, great. And the funny story, like I met with the GM after the workout. Bobby Bethard was his name, and he said, "Mike, we really like you. We really want to sign you. We got a problem." I was like, "Okay, what's the problem?" Because we don't have any money, and I'm like, "And well, that's a problem." I didn't care because, hey, I'm just fresh out of college. I want, NFL is like a big deal. But what he was really referring to was the signing bonus. And I was like, oh, I wasn't expecting that anyways. I have no leverage. I mean, I'm honored to even get an opportunity to get an offer to sign a contract. I knew I was going to be a camp guy. John Carney was the kicker there at the time, and he's a legend. So I knew that I was just going to be his camp leg, and kick some balls for him. And I got 3 of the 5 preseason games in, and then they released me, and I went back to school.
And then you had somebody that really believed in you.
Yeah, Coach Jim Gaetano. We played for the same high school football coach, different decades, but he's about 14 years older than me. But he came out when I was in high school and worked with me a little bit. But back then I was like, yeah, he came on the field, kicked with me or showed me some things. And as soon as he left, I was like, I liked a couple of things, but I'm just going to kind of do my own thing. And so I didn't really listen too much. But after I went off to college, junior college, and then halfway between right in the middle of my junior year of college at Idaho, we were playing at Eastern Washington, which is right outside of Spokane. And he had been gone. I didn't know where he went, but he went to California, and then he came back. His mom and family still lived in Spokane, so he came back to Spokane after he gotten released from the Chiefs. the San Diego Chiefs, and he got on that for preseason in 1987. But he I saw him later on, and he at halftime at that game, he started coaching me right then and there, and I hadn't seen the guy in like 3 years. And so from that point on, and literally for my junior, right between my junior and senior years, really where I really took kicking very serious, and especially with Jim and his mentorship and his form and what he taught me, and basically kind of started from scratch. I had, I was on a full ride scholarship, so I had a little bit of risk there, but I took on the risk and learned this technique that he taught me. And I can promise you, I could not have made the NFL without him, not only as my mentor and coach, but also he acted as my agent, because like I said, he had just gotten released from the Chiefs, and he had done all of the calling and talking on his own. He would talk to all the GMs around the league and his own workouts. And so he knew a lot of coaches in the NFL at that time. So he was doing a lot of calling for me because he knew that I had the abilities. And so after Idaho, he, really got on the phone and started calling, teams. And he was the one that was responsible for me going to Jacksonville, because, fast forward after I got released from the Chargers, there's another story about the World League. It was called the World League, NFL Europe, essentially. Bobby Beathard, general manager of the Chargers, and my agent at the time both said, "Hey, don't enroll in school because you're going to get drafted. We're going to enter you in the draft, and you'll go and play Europe somewhere." Well, that draft came and went, and guess what? I guess my size mattered at that point. I was like, I guess I didn't, and I didn't get drafted. So here I am again, like, oh man. So I was let down quite often, but Jaguars essentially, and actually the Chargers wanted me to come back later on. Fast forward, they had asked me to come back, and I had some interest from Jacksonville. And I said, Bobby, talking to Bobby Beathard again, I said, hey, can you give me a few weeks? Jacksonville has an interest. I have a better chance of making that team than I do against John Carney, who had just gone to the Pro Bowl the year that I was there. So he said, sure, and literally, and this is a true story, the Sunday night before the Monday that I was going to call the Chargers back, because the Jaguars were kind of, they thought I was too short. Your form's great, you kick well, but you're too short. And that I kind of gave up. I'm like, well, maybe they changed their mind. But then that's literally the Sunday before the Monday, I was going to call the Chargers and say, hey, I'll come back. The Jaguars called me, and they said, hey, we want Tom Coughlin wants to see you kick in person. We're going to fly you out, and we're going to work you out. So that was really the beginning of my history at Jacksonville.
And Jim had a bit of a play in that, didn't he? He kind of convinced them.
Yeah, well, yeah, convincingly. He basically told them what he thought. He's like, hey, because I told him that we went to work out one day, and I said I got from my agent that day after the Jaguars had told me I was too short. And I had said, I told Jim at the workout when we were working out, I said, hey, got a call from my agent. He said the Jaguars closed the door on us because they thought I was too short. And he was furious. He was so mad. And this was before, cell phones, of course. So after we got done working out, he went to the nearest payphone, called up the Jaguars, and just let them have it. You guys don't know what you're talking about. He had nothing to at that point. He's like, you all have nothing you have no idea what you're talking about. Mike kicks like he's 6'2". Why would it matter his size? And basically talked him into working me out. I'd work out in the middle of Washington at one point as well. But then even after that great work I had with a scout in Central Washington, they still weren't convinced. That goes back to that story about the time I was going to tell the Chargers I was going to come back, and then the Jaguars called and said, "Hey, we want to work out again. Tom Coughlin wants to see you. He just doesn't believe that you can kick the way that we're telling him that you can." So I proved him wrong.
And in 1997, when I did some research on you, I found out on Wikipedia you were the most accurate kicker in the history of NFL at that time.
At that time.
And you're being told, no, you're not good enough. You're too short. You don't have the physique. You don't I hope everyone that is listening to this is getting the lesson. Like, you were told so many times, Mike, no, you're too short. You don't have the build. You don't have all these different things going for you. And then yet you prove them all wrong, and you become the most accurate kicker.
You know what? I had the champion's mindset is what I had.
Yes, exactly. And you did not
for an answer.
You did not listen to your critics. You just did not. You blocked out all that noise.
Absolutely.
And that is the most crucial skill to have. So I hope everyone listening is really taking this in. It's like when people tell you you can't do something, honestly, just say, just watch me. That's something my dad taught me. My dad, I think I shared with you, Mike, was a former Australian cycling champion, and he taught me that. Because I got told, as I shared with you, I got told I'd never make it as a dancer. And I did give up on my dream. But thankfully, and the same thing that happened to you, I believe we all need that one person other than our parent that believes in us, that really deeply believes in us and lifts us up and says, I believe you can do this. It was Jim for you. It was Unibillings TV School of Dance in Hammersmith, London, that really believed in me when I was told too old, too tall, flat feet, turning hips, forget it. So for those of you that are listening, and bless you listening, and we have, at one stage, we had 1.1K listeners. We've got 1,000 people listening right now. There are so many doubters out there that are going to tell you that you're not good enough, that you're not built for this, that you basically, you might as well forget it. Please just block out all of that noise, because if you've got a dream in your heart, I remember thinking when I was told, all of those things when I was 16 and decided I wanted to be a dancer, it's like, what do you mean I can't? I know I've got a dancer inside. And you probably thought the same thing to yourself. It's like, what do you mean I can't play NFL? I know I'm short, but I'm a damn good kicker. And Jim taught you something, I think you called it the system versus the result. Yeah? Talk to me about that.
Yeah, that's something that I kind of, it wasn't like he just came out and said, hey, this is what we're going to do, and this is how you're going to think about kicking from this day forward, from now on. I kind of more or less thought about it myself. I slowly kind of reverted, and I kind of knew at one point that, I coach kicking now, so I'm teaching my kickers this kind of the mental way. It's a different way of thinking about kicking, because we always, and again, I'm taking a lot of the verbiage I'm telling you now today is come straight from Jim, because he coaches with me as well. So he and I coach in Jacksonville, and he's been with me for a very long time. Known the guy for years, and he always refers to kickers being result driven, meaning they're always focused on the result. Yes, we understand that when you kick a football, you got to make the kick, right? It's good. The football has to go through the uprights, across and above the crossbar and far enough, right? Well, clearly we know that, but what most kickers think is they focus too much on that, and they end up just athletically just kind of steering the football. And Jim, what he taught me about this system was basically the form. He taught me this form, and I realized after a while it seemed very mechanical, and I was never used to anything mechanical. I was just athletically steering the ball, and I was good enough to even get the scholarship at Idaho. But when Jim got with me and we got really down and dirty with this form, things changed. I actually became a much better kicker field goal wise. Kickoffs became more consistent, about the same distance. So I always had that strong leg, but the system is what I remember. And now I teach, of course, but the system is what I relied on. I didn't rely on my athletic ability to kick a ball anymore. It was more like, hey, I've developed a system that works. I became a mechanical kicker that if I was literally a human robot, meaning I could actually take every single step and do every motion exactly the same magically every single time, then my lineup became very important. And my mindset didn't care about making the kick, because I knew that if I did the right things in my form, the form was going to make the kick for me. So my mindset changed after realizing this over the years. Now, it wasn't something that it was an instant result type of thing where I woke up one day and said, oh, this is it. I actually realized that over time that it's the form, it's the mechanics, it's the system that does the job for you. You just have to work hard on the right things. Now, there's a lot of kickers out there, and I say this unfortunately because there's a lot of coaches out there that are teaching things that are athletic. They're just athletic steering because that's how they kicked, and that's all they know about kicking. And I'm way different. I'm like, I'm going to teach you to become a mechanical kicker. And mentally, here's where I'm going with this. That will help you tremendously. I never had a sports psychologist. I never had anybody how to teach me how to, to calm myself down and breathe on game day. I wasn't a mental visualization kind of guy. I trusted my form. I trusted the system because I've done it a million times and I've seen the results of the system. The system works. So one of the other best pieces of advice that I got from Brian Barker, who was our punter in Jacksonville and my holder essentially, and had 5 years of experience prior to me even getting there. So he took me under his wing and kind of showed me the ropes, taught me how to be a professional, in the NFL. And so what he had taught me when he mentioned this one day, and I will never forget it. He said, Mike, don't think on game day that you have to do anything different because it's game day. The goal, the fields say the still the same distance, and everything, all the dimensions are the same. The only thing that's different is now you got people watching. You got a stadium, you got bleachers now, and instead of the practice field, obviously you don't. But that's the only thing different. And if you try harder to make the kick, you're going away from what you just did all week during practice. You could have been 100% on all your field goals in practice. You go to the game and you're going to try harder to make the kick. Why? Why would you do that? Let the adrenaline of the game and the excitement of the game and everything, the environment, let that be your adrenaline for your power. And he said, in all honesty, try to relax and just kick it less. Like, think less. And that whole concept of less is more. And that's kind of fits in. It's like, just relax and let your motions that you've been practicing a million times and been successful a million times, let that do your job today. You don't need to do anything different. And I tell you, I even when I'm coaching my guys, I say that's the difference between good kickers, like somewhat good kickers, and great kickers. The ones that are somewhat good, or maybe not even that great. The ones that fail in situations like that are the ones that try harder. They second guess themselves. They think they got to do something different on this one kick because it matters. And when it comes down to the game-winning field goal, people ask me, like, why? How do you deal with the pressure? And I'm like, this is going to be very strange for you to hear, and I apologize. And you're going to call me crazy. But my mindset was that I didn't care where the ball went. And they're like, what do you mean you didn't care where the ball went? You got to make the field goal. Everyone's counting on you. I said, I know that in the back of my mind. I know that. But my focus, my main priority was do my form, trust my form, because I know the form will do the work for me. I trust it. Okay. And so why would I have to care about where the ball goes if I know my form's going to do that for me?
Don't practice till you don't get it wrong. Practice till you can't. Sorry, don't practice till you get it right. Practice till you can't get it wrong.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
So you played from 1994, 95 through to 2003, and then you had an injury. You hurt your back, and you decided to retire after trying to come back and do all sorts of things. And then that led you on a completely different journey, didn't it?
Yeah. I had multiple I had 4 back surgeries during my career. So it was kind of a sporadic, like it was like a continuation of things I did as a child, as a kid. I was a snow skier and did some stupid stuff on the mountain, jumping big jumps and stuff. But so my injuries were my back was injured, and it was kind of hard after my second, and then third and fourth came back to back. And that was when my last year when I was with the Giants. And I just I realized that I needed to be prepared for my retirement, and I just chose to retire. I wanted to make sure that I wasn't going to keep continuing to injure my back and then have long-term life effects from it. So I decided to retire. And there was a period of time when when I retired, the last thing I want to do was work out, because I've been doing this for the last 10 years. I'm like, man, I don't want to see a gym for a while. And what happened to me is as I got a little out of shape, I got a little complacent. I didn't eat well, and I put on some LBs. I got a little heavy, and at the same time, my back started hurting. And so I'm like, oh, this is good. So now I'm like, okay, well, then I got to thinking, well, maybe I should start working out again. So I start working out again, and my back hurt even worse. I'm like, oh my gosh, what's happening with my back? And so I had to really be careful with what I was doing. And I put some thought into this, and of course what I was eating, and I changed my diet a little bit, and took supplements, but I don't really know if they worked. I honestly didn't really feel if they worked or not back in the day. But getting back into shape, I just realized I had to get over that hump. And so once I got over that hump and got into shape and started to lose the weight, started to get a little stronger, because at the period of time when you're fat and out of shape, getting back into shape, you actually take a few steps backwards. It's just like really anything in life when you're trying to start over. You step back before you step forward. And that was me. And so I realized that. I'm like, okay, I got to be smart about this. Got real good at working out and staying in shape and eating better. And my back started feeling better. So I'm like, okay, there's a pattern there. And then, fast forward a while, and I'm still trying to eat well. And then I went through the divorce, and I got food was my go-to at the time. That was my happy place. So I started eating, and I stopped working out. And guess what? Same boat. I was right back in it again. I'm like, man, duh. I need to start working out again because I can't deal with this back pain. So I realized it really quick at the time. So got back in it, and maybe another time or two, I got a little lazy and complacent. And finally, one day, I'm like, I was approaching almost 200 pounds the last time I was getting heavy. That was probably like the second or third time I was a little bit overweight. That was almost I'm like 5'8" on a good day, and I was almost 200 pounds. And I was huffing and puffing. I was huffing and puffing, tying my shoes. I'm like, this is not good. So
The inner knowledge that it's huffing and puffing.
just tying my shoes, yes. So I thought, okay, I got to get my head on straight. And so I really got really serious about understanding nutrition and getting it back in the weight room. I started boxing. I've been doing boxing, title boxing of Jacksonville. I've been doing that for 12 years now, ever since pretty much almost the time that they opened. That was maybe a few months after they'd opened. And so I've been doing boxing. Now I'm doing F45 workouts. So I'm doing all kinds of working out, and I'm feeling great. My back feels amazing, but I got to tell you about the supplements. So I, of course, I got to understand supplementation and phytonutrients and kind of learn a little bit about that. And then this company called 3 International came around, and this was just 2 years ago. And I had been taking supplements here and there. I wasn't really that serious about the supplements because honestly, I didn't feel them. And then my justification for that was, well, maybe I just feel good. I'm already kind of in shape. I'm kind of healthy. I'm eating okay. Maybe it's just that. And maybe the supplements, I don't even know if I feel, maybe I'll just keep taking them because I guess they're doing something good for me. But little did I know, and I've learned a lot ever since being with 3, that the absorption, the bioavailability in supplements on the marketplace is horrible. So like 10 to 15%, that's all. And then molecules come in different shapes, sizes, and characteristics. So you need a little help for these molecules to get absorbed into the body. And so that's where 3 fits in. So I was introduced to 3 when the company was only a month old. And they specialize in 12 different cellular absorption delivery technologies. And so our bioavailability is amazing. Plus the quality of the nutrients are all plant-based, all natural. I'm just like, wow. And by the way, this whole time, I'm telling you, my back feels great. I feel great. I had to take Advil because there were days that my back was killing me, especially during the time I was playing. So I was eating Advil like it was candy. I was 35 plus years of taking a lot of Advil. And I knew that wasn't good for my body. And I hated taking it, but there were days I had to take it. And coaching and being on my feet and demonstrating, at the age of 50, 53 now, almost I'll be 53 in a week, I'm constantly having to take Advil. Well, the day I got all the products from this new company, 3 International, I started taking their products from day one, and I haven't missed a day. It's been over 2 years now. There's 6 proactive wellness products. When you take them all together as one, and they're created kind of a system. The inflammation has gone away. I feel some aches and pain there, but those are just things that won't ever go away. My knee, my shoulder, and a couple things. But I'm telling you, overall, in general, I feel better than I did when I was taking a bunch of that chemically driven, Advil. So I'm very, very confident and comfortable with these proactive wellness products I'm taking now, and I couldn't be happier.
And you've become a health and wellness coach, right?
I'm in the process of becoming a health and wellness coach. Yes, I'm studying for that and learning a lot more than I have in the past, and learning about phytonutrients and why nutrition is so important. And I can tell you, the foods that we eat in the world today. Now, I'd say more like the United States, because the United States is got their attitude towards food is whatever makes money. They don't care about health, and there's no money in healthy people. By the way, ask Big Pharma. Go to Big Pharma and say, Pfizer's been around for 175 plus years, something like that, right? Well, how many diseases have cured? None, 0. All they are is a company that's providing you pills and Band-Aids for the problems you're having, and then those Band-Aids cause other Band-Aids, and then you have to take a Band-Aid for that Band-Aid. You know what I mean? So it's a non-ending. It's a revolving door. It's like there's constant a medication that people are getting stuck on, and their lifetime medications. Well, I want to get back to the old days when we found remedies for like natural remedies for problems. And that's in as well. We're all natural nutraceuticals. We are actually in all of those 6 proactive wellness products are in the PDR. The physician's desk reference is actually the prescriber's digital reference. That's incredibly huge because every doctor in the world knows what that is. And that's the organization that does all the vetting for the pharmaceutical industry. Ideally, that's what they developed it for in 1947. That's when it started. But now in the last 10 years or so, they've started to add nutraceutical companies. We're one of only 21 nutraceutical companies that are in that book, in that guide. And that's incredible because it adds instant credibility. We're more or less labeled and classified as medicinal. And again, these are all natural plant-based products that are actually working. I tried a lot of stuff. I was a very optimistic guy. I've always wanted to try things. I'm like the yes man. You come to me with some product. Oh, sure, I'll try it. And I've never noticed much of anything difference in my body until now, until 3. And I promise you, I will never stop taking these products.
Now, aside from that, you also still do, I think you probably still work with Jim, do you? But you also still run kicking clinics or kicking academies. Tell me super quickly about that.
Yeah. Proform kicking. I've had it for almost 19 years now. I specialize really in private instruction. I do a lot of virtual too. So I work with guys in South Africa and Croatia and Mexico, Canada, different parts of the world, different parts of the United States, of course. But it's very convenient. The market's much bigger. There's a lot more kickers in the world than there are here in Jacksonville, Florida. But I have a passion for it. Again, we talked about my size and everything. And why was I able to be the most accurate kicker in NFL history? And by the way, I led the NFL in scoring that year too. I had more points than any other player in the NFL that year. Emmitt Smith, he was a big stud running back for the Dallas Cowboys. I scored more points than he did. So I don't say that to impress you. I say that to impress upon you that someone like me can do that, right? So I know it wasn't my big, strong athletic abilities that made me that good. It was the form and the technique. And so that's what I'm impressing upon my athletes these days when I coach them. It's like, listen, you can do what I did. I didn't think I was going to play in the NFL. I thought my goals, and I'm not a big goal setter, but I'm a kind of a very baby step type of goal setter. I want to do daily goals, and then in the long term, whatever I do in the daily goals, it's what I'm going to get in the long term. So my mindset was really with the form and the technique and my abilities to kick a football. I wanted to be as best as I physically could be, in whatever level. And using Jim's system, of course, using the Proform method, because I knew that was the best way to kick. If I could, as good as I can get with that form and that technique, whatever level I get to, I have to be okay with, because that's as good as I'm going to ever be. And it just happened to be the NFL.
So to the viewers that are watching, if they hit some hurdles and they hit some roadblocks and things like that, say, well, in this current climate, a whole lot of people have actually lost their jobs. What would you suggest they do with their mindset? Because they might be thinking, oh my God, my life's going down the toilet. What do I do with my life right now? My 401k is disappearing, et cetera, et cetera. It's a really challenging time for a lot of people right now. What advice would you give them, Mike?
Well, it's easy to quit. It's easy to give up. I love the term you'd never know in a good way. Like you will never know how successful you'll be unless you try. The regret is another thing too. Is you don't want to regret not trying, because you never know how good. I never knew I could play in the NFL, but look what I did, right? Being optimistic, being passionate, that's another huge deal. You got to have that passion somewhere. And that's a big driving force. When you find that passion for something, it really is hard to quit. And especially if you're good at whatever that passion is. If you love the passion and you're really skilled at it and you enjoy doing it, it's really tough to quit, no matter what, how many setbacks you had. I had a ton of setbacks. I've clearly named a bunch of them already. And there's probably a lot more than I didn't even mention. I don't want to abuse the time here. So I could go on forever. But my point is, I was let down a lot, but I knew how good I was. I knew my abilities. I knew within myself that I was capable of doing things that many people clearly didn't believe that I could. And proving people wrong is fun. I can promise you that. Looking back and I know that they're kicking themselves like, man, I should have picked up that guy back when I had a chance, whatever. But that's not a spiteful way. That's just me. It's just a way of saying, I told you so type of thing. Well, you didn't believe in me. Look at me now. And I'm not saying I don't want to give the impression I want to prove people wrong. I just want to prove myself right. I want to prove to myself that I can do these things. And again, you'll never know unless you keep persistent with it, especially if there's anyone out there that has maybe a specific goal they want to get. Well, it might take longer than you really anticipated, but it's still a goal. You still want to get to that goal. Don't give up because it's taking longer and it's harder or whatever. And being in the NFL, I promise you, especially with the back injuries I had, it's mentally and physically very, very difficult. that honestly was one of the reasons, because of the fact that, my back was the way it was. I wanted to be healthier, healthy after retiring. But it was very, very difficult to maintain that. And I give kudos to the guys that played in the NFL for 20 years, or more. It's very, very difficult to do. But those are the guys that have that really strong mindset that they don't care what people think, and they're taking care of their bodies, and they're doing the right things, and knowledge and knowing. There's a lot of answers to your question, to be honest with you. But the bottom line is, it's easy to give up, and just keep working hard on what you enjoy, what you love, what that passion is, what you have with, and it's really comes down to how bad you want it. That's kind of the passion part of it as well. So you want it bad enough, you're going to work hard to achieve it, and don't listen to people because they don't know. They're not paying your bills. They don't know anything about you. And so if you're listening to people that have an opinion about you and they're way off, that's just air. That's all it is.
I think also, for those of you that are watching for the first time that don't know my story, I was suicidal 35 years ago, and to think, and my inner critic was chastising me and telling me I was so pathetic I couldn't organize my own suicide properly. And to think of the things that have happened since then, I believe that there's always a bigger plan afoot. And so if you have been, if you've lost your job, if you're losing some of your 401k or whatever, really just trust that there is a bigger plan about to unfold for you. If I'd have known back then, I was living in Australia, it was over a guy that dumped me, etc. I've written 7 books since then. One became #1 in 5 categories on Amazon. I've met Oprah. I've been interviewed on every major TV network. I didn't know I'd be living in the US. Like, so many things have happened that were incredible in my life, and I thought my life was going down the toilet. So if this is you, if you're thinking, oh my God, where am I going in my life? Believe me, I say that my biggest nightmare was really my biggest gift in disguise. And it doesn't feel like it at the time, I know. And as you've mentioned as well, sometimes in order to start a new life, there are 3 steps forward, 3 steps back, 1 step forward. However, if you just trust the process, maybe you lost your job because you're meant to be doing something entirely different. Maybe you've got a passion inside of you that you haven't been doing. You've been just getting up every morning and going like a mouse on a wheel and doing something over and over just to pay the bills. So have faith. Do your best every morning to think, okay, take on board what Mike said, take on board what KATHRYN said, and go, okay, how am I going to actually embrace today? We did a portrait session with my beautiful puppy dog this morning, and Bella wakes up every morning full of life and joy. And it's like, we were talking at the portrait session that, dogs have this really short time frame of life on the planet, and yet they embrace every single minute like she does. She just wakes up full of life and joy, and oh my God, brand new day. So that's part of a champion's mindset, is like, you got the chance to wake up today, and tomorrow you're going to get the chance to wake up. So I hope you have enjoyed this episode. I have loved interviewing you, Mike. We could talk for hours. I'd love to have you come back another time. So if people would like to know more about your kicking academy and working with you on some capacity, and also about this 3 International, because this is really fascinating stuff, to get off all the Advils and all of the pain medications and start really putting plant-based things that are good for your body, where can they go? Can we pop that up on the screen, please?
Yeah. Zealous Wellness is a website that I've kind of thrown together that kind of has a little bit of information on some health and wellness aspects. 3 International obviously is one of them. Proform Kicking, I added that on as a page as well. But proformkicking.com is the website to go to for kicking services. And again, I've been around almost 19 years, been doing this a long time. And that's a passion of mine. Obviously health and wellness is as well, but I enjoy it all. I really do. And one thing I want to mention too, with regards to you just said, as far as every day, thinking about what you're doing every day, I've always had that mindset too, is like, you want to do the best you can every single day under the circumstances that you're given. And if you can honestly look at yourself in the face and say, you truly gave it your best, no matter what the result was, then you've actually succeeded in what you had mindset for that day. We all have circumstances we're given, and it's how you deal with them. right? So I wanted to throw that in there because you reminded me of that when you mentioned that.
Yeah, awesome. And I always say I want to be a better version of myself tomorrow than I was today. Yeah, it's awesome. Thank you so much, Mike.
Thank you so much.
Thank you to all of our viewers, 1.1K of you that all joined. That is amazing. Thanks so much. See you next week.
Thanks for watching The Champion's Mindset with KATHRYN Orford. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. See you next week.